I'm filming in Okeechobee, Florida, ground zero for the amazing story of the wanderlusting and adaptable cattle egret in the United States. The cattle egret is a heron that gets little respect because it seems to be everywhere in Florida, including roadsides and parks of cities, even darting in and out of local traffic. They're taken for granted and rarely photographed as people look for other more interesting birds. But I wanted to give this fascinating and attractive bird, especially in its natural habitat, its due respect. You see, cattle egrets are not native to North America or even South America. They're from Africa. Most people probably don't realize that this familiar bird of Florida's suburban, even urban roadsides, rural pastures and prairies is a relatively new addition to American bird life and has accomplished a spectacular range expansion. Cattle egrets have been widespread in the tropics of Africa and Asia for thousands and thousands of years. They would follow the great herds of African buffalo, zebras and such, feeding on the insects these grazers flush, even perching on their backs for a free ride and picking off ticks and flies. In one of the great tales of avian range expansion in modern times, these egrets colonized the world under their own power. In the late 1800s, cattle egret were discovered in northern South America. It is thought that a flock was assisted from Africa across the Atlantic Ocean by the prevailing trade winds. While this flight of almost 2,000 miles may seem impossible, the strong easterly trade winds may have enabled the birds to make the trip in around 40 hours, a feat these strong flyers are certainly capable of. From northern South America, cattle egrets expanded north and south. The first U.S. sighting of cattle egrets was in Florida, southwest of Lake Okeechobee in 1941, and nesting colonies were discovered first at Lake Okeechobee in 1953, not far from where I am now. By 1960 they had been reported throughout Florida, and by 1962 had spread all the way to the west coast, and are now one of the most abundant herons in North America and the world, with a foothold in every continent except Antarctica. The massive expansion of the cattle egret's range is due to its relationship with humans and their domesticated animals, and the bird's adaptability and its reliance more on insects and less on the aquatic prey like other herons and egrets. Its adaptation to a drier habitat enabled the bird to take advantage of the spread of livestock ranching throughout the Americas. Feeding on insects flushed by cattle is the same as preying on insects kicked up by African buffalo. This is classic cattle egret behavior. Hanging around humans or cattle and following the mowers. And they're also smart. I mean, they see the mowing out here and they know that that's going to stir up all sorts of food. So really, cattle egrets really have just learned to adapt to humans and really live off human agriculture. And actually, beneficial because mostly they're eating bugs, and they'll eat small lizards and small crustaceans and amphibians. But generally, when you see them poking around, they're looking for easy bug pickings. The bird earned its name from its habit of hitchhiking on the backs of animals. As a cow or horse moves about, it stirs up bugs, which the cattle egret feasts on. In Africa, you might see them trailing a camel or sitting on the back of a rhino. In addition to following large animals and farm machinery that kick up bugs, cattle egrets will fly towards smoke from long distances away to catch insects fleeing a fire. The cattle egret is a stocky heron with about a 3-foot wingspan. It is 18 to 22 inches long and weighs around a pound when mature. It has a relatively short, thick neck, a sturdy bill, and a hunched posture. The non-breeding adult has mainly white plumage, a yellow bill, and grayish-yellow legs. During the breeding season, adults develop orange-buff plumes on the back, breast, and crown, and the bill, legs, and irises become bright red for a brief period prior to mating. The sexes are similar, but the male is slightly larger and has slightly longer breeding plumes than the female. Juvenile birds lack colored plumes and have a black bill. In North America, the bird now breeds from New England west to southern Ontario and Minnesota, and south through central Texas into Mexico. It also summers regularly in Arizona, New Mexico, and California. Cattle egrets have obviously proven themselves to be strong flyers and highly migratory. Many of the cattle egrets that breed in North America spend the winter months in Mexico and Central America, but those in Florida and along the Gulf Coast and in parts of California remain throughout the year. While their foraging habits differ greatly from other egrets and herons, their nesting habits and habitat are identical. Cattle egrets usually nest in colonies with other species of egrets and herons, often outnumbering all the others. Males choose the nesting site. Both male and female build the nest, with males gathering most of the material and females doing most construction. Both parents sit on the eggs and feed their young. Platforms of sticks are built into trees and bushes, usually on islands over water. 2 to 5 blue-green eggs hatch in 21 to 24 days, and the young fledge in 40 to 45 days. Nesting generally occurs during late spring and summer, somewhat later than the other waders in the same colonies. While it is likely that this stocky member of the heron family does compete with native species for nesting sites in some areas, the negative effects do not appear to be very great. Cattle egrets may even be beneficial additions to North America, as they consume large quantities of flies, ticks, and other insect pests that otherwise plague cattle and other grazing animals. After the breeding season and throughout the rest of the year, cattle egrets stay together in large flocks, roosting communally at night and flying out to forage together during the day. In addition to following large animals and farm machinery and eat invertebrates stirred up from the ground, cattle egrets will fly towards smoke from long distances to catch insects fleeing a fire. Although similar in size, it's easy to tell the difference between the cattle egret and the snowy egret. The snowy egret has their signature yellow feet and black bill.